What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Let's jump into today. As far as the dollar goes, we're headed south, doing good. Now, I am short U.S. dollar, Japanese yen, U.S. CAD, so absolutely full send on those. Looking to be adding to this quite a bit. As a matter of fact, as soon as this yellow zone does break again, I'm going to add quite a bit onto the U.S. dollar, Japanese yen. Now, U.S. CAD, that did get a pretty decent meltdown. Waiting for this to... We already had a bounce before. I think this time we break below and stay below. Any kind of confirmation below there is also where I'm adding on. But as far as that goes, we'll have some probably daily zones right around here. I don't expect much this week. We do have Powell. Is Powell talking tomorrow? Tuesday, Powell. Yeah, so he's talking tomorrow right at the bell. That'll probably be the end of that'll be the end of the trading week, most likely for most. Crypto will stay open. So we'll see if it's a risk on, risk off kind of week, kind of at the top of that range. I'm kind of thinking I'm thinking bull flag scenario here. Bouncing above that. If it does come down, what I want to see is a higher low. If it comes back down to the yellow, then we're just horizontally stuck. What you wouldn't want to see is actually breaking this yellow zone coming down here. Technically, that just makes it still a bull flag, but that's lower highs, lower lows, and keeping that consistent. So that's what you don't want to see. As far as the S&P goes, I do think the markets are overbought. Intraday, I took a couple shorts today. I'm going to keep an intraday this week because I'll probably trade Tuesday and Wednesday. 99% chance I don't trade Thursday. But what I'm looking for today and why I was on the 15-minute earlier, like when the recording started, is I am going to play this. So technically right now this would be the short entry. Seeing this wick right here, we got some sellers right here. Nothing has closed and stayed, like nothing's gone above this level and stayed above. We kind of have that line in the sand. And we technically just crossed the 1590 MA, and that's what I'm looking for. So we close below and then we stay below. So right now would be the entry. What would suck is, this closes below, stays below, and then, let's see if we can find a better example. We've seen plenty of candles like this where the next one just kind of burns it right back up. So probably not the best trade to take right there. We could start the waterfall, but that would be the more riskier setup. What you want to see is something like this where it breaks below, kind of confirms it, and then goes. With this particular story, a lot of selling coming up here, and I do think we are overbought. If we go to the daily, let's just check the RSI. At the open, we did gap down a little bit. So we kind of checked the overbought box. I mean, we got as high as 70.7. The 4-hour shows it a little bit more, but again, not to put a lot of weight on that, though that can stay overbought for some time. All it means is the strength is up. And you're certainly catching that knife. And this week, that's kind of what I'm doing. We're seeing just kind of some signs of some sellers, and I just think we're overbought. Pulling back into that yellow zone, I'm full-blown buying the dip. As far as the expected moves, nothing. NASDAQ, have we even done that on the NASDAQ yet? I'm actually short the ES. What I've been trading short is the ES. I was in the NASDAQ. I took quite a few trades today, smaller time frames, but I was long the NASDAQ earlier. Honestly, when this broke kind of close up here, I saw the buy momentum and rode that up. That wick ended up getting me out. So technically right now, this would be your time to short that. But once it breaks above, I mean, your stop is just that candle trend right above. There's your wick at the end of the day. Just no one wanting to carry that risk overnight. Interesting. Intraday zones as far as the Grandpa Dow goes. Quite the burner on that one. What an amazing missed trade. Still bullish on that, no reason. Russell, man, if it hits that, I gotta say that zone's still just the dip buy. Moving into some questions I got. Let's see, what is the next ticker that's going to move like Palantir and Hood? I would probably have a standalone video on that if I know that. I like to make standalone videos when I see it, like specifically like I did with Hood and Palantir. Palantir at 10. Man, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if the AI stocks are going to start moving like that. I'm actually very bullish Hood with what they announced today and how they're tokenizing stuff. Long story short, what they're saying is you can buy an IOU from us. So Europe can kind of buy United States stocks, and instead of getting in an exchange and doing all that and listing it on a European exchange, what they're doing is they're buying tokens. That token is basically an IOU, and Robinhood's saying, don't worry, we got you. We got your shares on us. We're going to hold the shares. You hold the coupon, and we'll trade that coupon back and forth. So it's just a wider market. So I'm on board Hood quite a bit. Hood, I do think, is up there as well. I guess sending it. But if you've been watching anything that I've been talking about, how I'm in Hood, buying Hood, just bullish Hood, all of this just keeps running up. This was all-time highs. We're going to delete that right here. Almost 3 standard deviations today. That's a wild situation. And if it joins the S&P 500, you're going to see even more buyers. I'm still very bullish Hood. What I would do now, I have been saying this is the next one, but you put it in your question. Kind of like when I break down dividend tickers. Let's say I'm going to buy 10. I'm going to buy 3 right now, 5 on a pullback, an additional 2 if it dips even further. But that's kind of how I would take it right now. Technically, you kind of feel like you're chasing. There's a lot of bullish things about it, and given this week, it just might continue up. You might get a nice buffer. You don't know where that pullback is going to happen. It could be here, could push up another $40 and then pull back. Worst case scenario, that's the absolute peak, which is why you don't just whole account this thing right now. If I were to take it as a trade, I would have to put my stop probably 92.45. Breaks that, and then this will end up probably being a zone later, and I'll wait for a retest of that. That's my favorite one, other than HIMS. And I've been saying for a while, HIMS and Hood are the 2 ones, my 2 biggest ones right now. So I'd have to stick with that. BBAI, Big Bear. Let's go. Full send into the zone right there. I think you said Charlie was talking about this, so we drew out these zones. I would keep an eye out for that right there. Shout out to Charlie. If it breaks above this will be a decent zone to break. If it does get above, I would watch out for that $10 mark. But not bad. Yeah, I'd watch out for the rejection here. If there was a possible get back in spot, I'd say that $6 level. Let's see. Amazon. One of the few read today from last night. When to get in? Now. Get in now, later, a little bit later after that, and even more a little bit later after that. I'm very bullish Amazon. And what I said at the beginning of this, when we started breaking these down, is I kind of just curious if all the AI players are going to start doing that. Meaning, Meta, Tesla, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, Apple, Google, Palantir, AMD. I want to cast the whole AI chain and write AI net, and Amazon and Google they're up there. So any red candle for me is a dip buy on Amazon. Picture perfect if we can get it into that zone. If I was taking it as a trade, my stop would be 214.45. That's how I'd manage my risk on that. SPX option, now considering Steve's idea of a spread on SPX options, so what he's talking about is buying a December dated call instead of buying a futures contract and holding that. You did the math earlier. It's the equivalent of holding like 8 MES contracts. I would consider either a spread or maybe even a little calendar spread situation. If you're going to buy December, maybe you sell a monthly contract against it instead of a weekly situation. Still take advantage, knock that down a little bit as far as your theta and vega neutrality, especially because we're overbought. Ride that down on any pullbacks. But other than that, just because we are up here, thinking we're going to pull back, or if you haven't got in yet, wait for the pullback, then buy it, and then just kick your feet up on the desk. Either way, I don't think there's not any part of me that believes the market will be down from here to December. Let's see, Amazon, 919, 210 sold put, got 745 for it. There was a 10 million in flow today. Nice. That's right there at that zone. I'll follow you on that tomorrow just to show you how much I feel about Amazon. I would copy that all day right now. 730 sold put for Thursday. Meta's unstoppable. You know my opinion on Meta. Why not? Meta's just, you're never going to break Meta. There's a reason why Meta's my number 1 position, and that's just because I like money. I like money, like being rich. I like watching my money grow, and I don't think Meta's changing. Meta is just hammering it when it comes to things. They're just getting started. Meta, I think, is going to get a lot bigger. Tough one to call out on YouTube because I get a lot of people don't really have the capital to be selling puts on this and calls against all their shares. But owning it is step number one. After that, there's other things you could do to maybe make a little bit more money on it. Be cool for the U.S. CAD to blast through the zone. I do agree. I just think it's probably going to be next week. Tesla. Delivery numbers coming up. I'm kind of curious if this is a manipulation. You saw today I bought more Tesla. That's all accounts. Bought more Tesla. You guys got the notification. If you're part of my group and you got that, then you got the notification. Bought Tesla today. I don't know why. I'm kind of bullish these delivery numbers. The reason why is I think everybody's completely bearish off the last delivery numbers, but nobody really talked about how last deliveries, the factories were shut down. This will be an incredibly bearish reaction if the numbers are still down and we don't have the excuse of factories are closed. That's going to suck. Hi, WM. We're just kind of hanging out. You and I are both in those calls. If it pulls back here, I might even add on to those. Silver, I'm not in a position, but potentially want to go long. Gonna grab some shiny objects, huh? I don't see why not. If I was, I would want to put my stop below that red wick. That's how I would do it. Hood, you sold the 96 and 99 covered call for this Friday. Also sold a 101, 103 calls credit spread for this Friday. So you're right there at 3 standard deviations on that one. 90 so you're right at 3 standard deviations. You're 96. That's going to be the iffy one because we're already there. You're hoping that thing pulls back. In a holiday week like this just might continue. With not that much volume, there's just not that much to contest it. And then you just do see it continue. If I were to sell some calls and I was underwater, I would very minimum roll those into next week. See if market makers can't drop us back a little bit. ACHR looks like that might be going for its next run up. Got a little crazy, came right back, tried it again. Still technically the lower highs, but we've seen it kind of struggle to get above this. But holding all of this right here, I'd look for that third breakout. You want to get above that zone. Getting above that, now we're talking it's going to be bullish. But has to do that first. HIMS, kind of the same thing I just said with ACHR. That just needs to get above that zone. Right now, kind of bull flag, go reversal. This was the partnership that fell through, and it just got bought right back up. Hasn't made a full recovery from that yet, but overall in its overall charts, still doing very well. As a trade, I don't typically like buying as things are in a yellow zone like that, so I'd put my stop at 47.85, but I would be bullish for the breakout up. Oscar Health, same thing, and I talk to you guys a lot. It's not just the yellow boxes, but it's how we get there, and we hit that. We found the sellers right where we thought they would be, sold off, bounces back up, and now all of a sudden we're knocking on that door again. Which kind of makes me think how many sellers are still there. Hang on. Trying to just notice how low I was on the camera. There we go. If I could put my stop in the green at 1985, I would. Still in the Google. Okay, still in the Google September 19th 200 call. Feel like I need to go soon. Maybe take a small loss. My average is 590. Made it to 550, thinking I should have left than bought myself more time, but this hindsight, let's see, you're in September 19th. I don't know. I'm still very bullish this. I wouldn't make any decisions on that this week. Probably the next couple weeks. As long as this trend is still there, I think you do have some ground to cover, but it is a tech stock. I would hang tight on that one. I get the hammer down because of the Google search. I'm not bearish like a lot of other people are in Google. and I would still be buying. If I was going to buy more, though, I would move my expiration. I would keep what I have. So instead of doubling down on that, I would probably just buy a completely different contract. Maybe same strike, but bump that out to, January or something like that. Let's see, the Aussie USD. I'm short this, so I'd have to be. I'm short the US dollar, so I'd be long this at least into that zone. But I would just be bullish this. Not a lot of meat on the bone. So if I'm trailing, depending on your time frame, daily it's still down here. If you're on a smaller time frame, you could probably tighten it up to there. I stay on the higher time frames when it comes to Forex, because I would be watching this zone and hoping for a break through, and all I'm doing is just trailing it the whole way. Natural gas. I would be buying the dip on this. I think that zone is going to be. I think it's going to get bought up. I think I would be bullish. I think I would just wait until we got into that zone a little bit, just comfortably into that zone. I could play the bounce, because my stop would have to probably at least be that 315 mark. U.S. oil, with things cooling down now, and all of a sudden we're not going to go to war. Bearish, at least into that weekly zone. I mean, just that. I mean, all that did was melt down. And like when we say when stocks push up, they pull over, they pull back. That's just pulling over, cooling off all the indicators, and then I think you're just gearing up for another short. Remember that one time I said futures were going to gap to that blue zone, and it did, and then I went short oil. And then remember that one time I tagged out up here and about blew a gasket when I saw the market later, and it was down here? Not a single person nailed that entry like I did. Market makers were even surprised. And then they thought, what was this guy thinking? Why did he get out? That was me. Unbelievable. Gold. I know some people are bullish the shiny things. Chart-wise, that's a yellow zone. It's a yellow zone and a trend down. Silver looked better, oddly. I'd have to take the type 1 short on that. Typically, silver doesn't look bad yet. But yeah, as far as gold goes, that looks like a type 1 short for me. All right. Thoughts on BBAI and the growth count, since we don't have any speculative except for Tesla now. He doesn't pay attention to anything that we're in. This guy follows a lot of the growth account plays, but he has no idea what we're in. The answer is no. Absolutely not. Why would I put this in a growth account? Do I just want to watch my money go away? This is still a pump and dump. You got Charlie, who literally trades pump and dumps, talking about this on YouTube. And my daughter's sitting next to me. Not you. Different Charlie. No, this is not it. Definitely not now. Maybe later if it pulls back down to here. The last thing I want to do is buy into this when it's right here, thinking I'm going to hold it and then it just melts down. That's absolutely silly. And we do have something speculative in there. It's called Mara. Okay? Now, maybe if Mara was at $45 and we had stops comfortably in the green, I would consider a different ticker. But no, we do still have some speculative money in there. Tesla's not speculative. Get out of here with that nonsense. Not even close. It's annoying that it's down. But no, I would rather just go. I would hold account margin before I bought BBAI. I don't care about its performance for the next week. I really don't. I'm thinking more longer term. Thanks for getting my blood pressure up. Just kidding. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'll see you beautiful people tomorrow. Have a good one.